Hi, this is Lainey Cameron, and I am here today with Joanne Kukanza Easley, and she's going to be talking with me about her debut novel, Sweet Jane, which just came out a few months ago. It's literary fiction, and it's an award winner. It's actually a book that's had a lot of great PR. It was a finalist in the International Book Awards just recently. It was a finalist in the Faulkner Wisdom Writing Awards. So you must be feeling pretty proud of being a debut and getting that kind of recognition already.
It's really thrilling, but even though this is my debut novel, I've been writing for many, many years. I just didn't really do anything with it until I retired.
Oh, that's great. And where are you joining us from today, Joanne?
I'm in Medina, Texas, which is about an hour outside of San Antonio in the Texas Hill Country.
And it's, I imagine, not a coincidence that your book is based in Texas, right?
That's right. It starts in West Texas, but it also is in Austin, where I lived for a few years.
And one of the things I saw in the reviews, I love to read the Goodreads reviews, is people really talking about how amazing how amazing a job you do with that Texas setting. People are saying it's almost like it's a character in the book, that it's a really vivid setting. I read people saying moving and emotional journey, vivid descriptions. And I picked out this one review by Linda Rosen, another 2020 debut author, because I thought her words really summarize what I was saying in all of the reviews: vivid descriptions, sweet voice, deep into the story. And people really love the West Texas angle of this book. Everybody seems to be commenting on it.
Yes, I think that I had a wonderful source for that. I met a fella online who has a website called Odessa in the 50s, and it just fit perfectly with where I was setting my book. So I reached out to him, and we actually met, and he provided a lot of deep background and information about what life was like in Odessa in the 50s and 60s when he lived there. And my book starts in 1957, when my character is actually a 6-year-old child and not an adult. But I wanted the authenticity. So I did a lot of research for this book.
And this is actually a special moment this weekend. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of it's a special moment this weekend because I believe people can get the book at a special price or something this weekend. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, Sweet Jane is on Kindle for free.
Wow.
This weekend. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Oh, great.
So I'm very excited about that. Getting the book in the hands of readers is so important.
Oh, that's awesome. And for those watching, her readers who don't know this, the reason publishers do that is they want to ramp up the reviews. They want to get it in more people's hands when they're very confident that a book is going to get great reviews. And so one way they do that is they make it free for a few days so that people will read it and review it, and it'll create that buzz around the book that deserves it. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the inspiration. Talk to me a little bit about where did the idea come from? Like you say, you've been a writer for a long time. Why this book?
Well, I used to belong to a writing group in Austin, Texas. We would meet on Saturday morning at Mother's Cafe on Duval, and we do writing prompts. And we just walk in and say hello. We didn't really know the other people. And the writing prompt was, "She didn't get that far." And I just had a vision of a young teenage girl, heartbroken, leaving her broken home. She was standing on the side of the road with her thumb out. And the reason she didn't get that far is she really didn't have a plan. And from there, I developed the character. I got to know her. I wrote her backstory. I made up her family and did the research, and then started putting her in situations. And as the book developed, I'm what they call a pantser, where I just take the character and run with the character.
I can relate to that too.
Very surprised sometimes with where the character takes me. And that happens several times in this book. But then I get to a point in my writing where I have to organize it. And I go back and do an outline. And I outline each chapter. I make a timeline. I make a family tree and organize my research. So that happened, that the inspiration from the book happened years ago when I lived in Austin. I haven't lived there in 9 years. So I put the writing down work got in the way, moving got in the way, life gets in the way, and you put your work aside and then you unpack the boxes someday and get back to it. And then I retired 3 years ago. I said, this is it. I'm finishing this book and I'm just going to get it published somehow. And I was very lucky that I did.
Oh, that's awesome. And it sounds like you did a lot of research, which is fascinating. So is there anything, you did all this work, anything that didn't make it into the book or that readers might be surprised to hear was there or got cut or was different along the way?
I had a real struggle on how to end this book. I went through all sorts of machinations in my mind. I ended up making a list of about 30 endings, and some of them were really strange and out there. Some of them were really bland and predictable. And I didn't know whether I wanted a tragic ending or a happy ending. And you'll have to read the book to find out. But that was the hardest part, was settling on an ending and getting there.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. And I think there's actually some nuggets of good advice for other writers in what you just said there. I was interested that you made a long list of potential endings. I hear that recommended all the time to writers. What other advice might you have for writers who are earlier in their career, who maybe are thinking, one day when I retire, I'm going to actually write that book? You've been through it, you did it, you got it published. It's amazing. Like, so what did you learn? What would you share?
Don't wait till you're retired. Start as early as you can and learn your craft. Join writers groups. I have belonged to critique groups when I lived in Massachusetts, Illinois, Texas. I've always treasured my critique groups. And don't be afraid to get your work out there in public and take your lickings and learn from what is said about your work. If it's not something that rings true with you, you don't have to accept it. But you have to get a little bit of a thick skin, because once you start submitting, you're going to be getting a lot of rejection, and you're going to have to deal with that.
That's great advice. And I know I lived through a lot of that rejection myself. It's not easy. You have to put on your steel armor and be ready for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anything I haven't asked you about that you might want to share or talk about today?
Well, I do want to mention that one of the characters in Sweet Jane is Lauren Eaton. And I got a really positive response from all my critique partners about this character. So that's going to be my third novel. I'm just starting that now. And again, it starts in Texas. And it's in Mineral Wells, Texas. And it starts in 1940. So it's a bit more historical. And it moves to New York City. So it goes from a cattle ranch to the Upper East Side. And it's quite a journey. So that's going to take a while to complete with all the research that I'm doing with that.
That's fascinating.
And we will see Jane again in that book.
Oh, awesome. Readers love when they get to see a character they love to show up again and enter the same universe, but different. Well, this is a great moment to talk about how readers can connect with you. Let me show that on screen here. Because if you want to follow not only this book and special offers on it, but also if you want to follow the progress on the new one Joanne just talked about, the best way is to connect with her either on Facebook. She's J.Easley Writes on Facebook, or at her website. And you can follow her and find out everything that's going on. Joanne, it was so lovely that you took the time to do this with me today, especially when you've got a special offer that people can take advantage of.
Well, I'll be publicizing it all over Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Trust me, I will. But I want to thank you very much, Lainey, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad you're able to join me today.
All right.